Well, Europe correspondent Philip Williams has been following the announcement. Phil, thanks for joining us. Firstly, what's prompted this speech?
Well, really, one word, UKIP. That's the political party that's been advocating a severing of ties with the EU and also restrictions on immigration. And that organisation had been ignored for many years, seen as a bit of a fringe. And lo and behold, they've just gone and won 2 by-elections at the expense of the Conservative Party. They are now seen as a real threat to the Conservative vote and the Labor vote. And this is in part response to that, because David Cameron has a big political problem. He said a few years ago, no ifs, no buts, we'll get net migration down to under 100,000 or in the tens of thousands, I think he said. The record proves as of yesterday that 260,000 people is the actual reality on the ground. So a huge gap in credibility there. This is his way of saying to the electorate, I am serious about this, I am on the job, and we will tackle this. However, there will be a very sceptical reaction to this, I think, because many will remember that original promise and say, well, you've had all these years to get it right, you haven't succeeded, and also you still have to get this through the EU. You still have to renegotiate treaties to allow these changes to happen, and we don't have the confidence necessarily that that's going to happen. That's certainly the message coming from UKIP. That's in their political interests, of course, but it does remain to be seen whether the Prime Minister can convince the electorate that this time he's got it right.
Are these measures likely to enjoy bipartisan support, and is immigration likely to be a big election issue?
It's going to be a huge election issue, perhaps even a central issue, and partly because of UKIP, but partly because of the reality that there are communities in this country that do feel under pressure, do feel under siege, do feel swamped by immigrants. And the problem always for the UK government has been they have no control over European Union immigration because of the treaties. They're not allowed to restrict the numbers. People have been able to come and go, set up house, go to school, whatever. That's part of the deal. And that works, of course, in reverse for 1.3 million Brits who live in other parts of Europe. It's a two-way street. But there is this political reality and the pressure, and these communities, some very specific communities, particularly in rural areas, feeling that pressure very much. This is the response to it.
And we know many Australians go to the UK to work each year. Will these measures and this announcement have an effect on Australians who do go there from here on in?
No, this really is excluding the so-called others, the non-EU. This is specifically about the EU. And this is really where the political pressure is coming from. There have already been a tightening of non-EU immigration to the UK, even though, I must say, that has risen quite a bit recently. It's harder as an Australian to come here and work. You have to go through a points system, as Brits do if they want to work in Australia. But in fact, actually, the Prime Minister did reference the Australian system. He did point out that Australia's net migration rates are about the same as Britain's in the last year, and yet we have a third of the population, and it's not a big political issue, or not as big a political issue as it is in Australia. But look, the reality is it's a huge issue here. He's confronting it. Whether it works remains to be seen.
OK, Phil Williams, thanks so much for the update.